Hi, I'm Dr. Tara Cummings, and I want to share with you a coping tool that can be helpful when you're facing an experience where you're feeling incredibly anxious, overwhelmed, stressed, right at or maybe even pushed beyond the breaking point, and your body starts responding with your heart racing, your chest is tight, your muscles are tensed, your eyes are dilated, you're having shortness of breath or hyperventilating, maybe you're having tunnel vision, or you feel like your brain and body is kind of shutting down and zoning out on you. And what's happening then is when our body and our brain feels like we can't cope anymore, our instinctual fight, flight, or freeze response gets activated. And there are all of these different components in our nervous system that are lined up like dominoes, and they start falling one by one. And this one hits the next, hits the next, hits the next, and they sort of kick each other off in this domino effect. And a lot of those processes in that domino effect are really hard for us. We don't have any direct control or impact on. And if we want to ride that out and shorten the duration of those panicky fight, flight, or freeze episodes and get back to our baseline, get back where we're feeling and functioning much more like ourselves and can be much more effective in our actions, we need to interrupt that domino effect, all of those dominoes falling, which means we need to be able to identify which of those nervous system body responses that are automatic, which ones can we impact. And the primary one that we have the most direct impact on is our breathing. So there are all sorts of really effective breathing techniques out there. And this 4-count breathing that I'm going to teach you is certainly not the only technique, and it may not be the best fit for you, but it's been helpful for me and folks that I've shared it with. So I want to offer it up to you as a tool to put in your coping toolbox. And what we're going to do in 4-count breathing is we're going to try and slow down the breathing process. We're not deep breathing, we're not diaphragmatic breathing. Those techniques can certainly be helpful, but this breathing technique is all about slowing down the breathing process. And when we can slow down the breathing process, then we slow down our heart rate, we help our muscles start to relax and release that tension, and we interrupt the dominoes falling so that we can get back to our normal baseline so that we can function and feel, we can function more effectively and we can feel better, more like ourselves. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you each of the steps one by one of 4-count breathing, and then I'm going to demonstrate it for you all together, and I hope that you'll join in the demonstration part to kind of practice it yourself, and then we'll talk about how you can use that in your day-to-day life. So the first step in 4-count breathing is to take a normal breath in through your nose. Nothing fancy, just normal breath in, and then you're going to exhale in a long, slow, gentle release from your mouth. I think of it kind of like I'm trying to blow bubbles with a little bubble wand. And if you want lots of pretty calming bubbles, you need to blow really gently and slowly. If you blow really forcefully, you're going to break the soap membrane and you won't get any bubbles. No bubbles. So we want to do a long, slow, gentle exhale from our mouth and try and get all of the air released from your lungs. And as you're doing that long, slow, gentle exhale, you're going to give yourself a cognitive cue. You're going to think a word that cues your mind and your body to what you're working toward. You're working to relax. You're working to get to baseline. So I like the word relax, but you can use calm, slow, breathe, chill, down. You get any word that you want that makes sense to you and sends that cue of what you're working toward. So a long, slow, gentle exhale. Relax. Now when you do it, you're going to use that cue, you're going to say that cue in your mind. I'm going to say it out loud for demonstration purposes. After you've done that long, slow, gentle exhale, thinking your cognitive cue, relax. This is where the next step is where the 4-count comes in. Before taking that next normal inhale in through your nose, you're going to pause for a count of 4. So relax, pause, 2, 3, 4. Relax, pause, 2, 3, 4. And then just rinse and repeat for several repetitions. I'm going to demonstrate it now, so if you'd like to give it a try, join in so we can practice it together. Okay, here we go. Normal breath in. Relax, pause, 2, 3, 4. Relax. Pause. 2, 3, 4. Relax. Pause. 2, 3, 4. Relax. Pause. 2, 3, 4. And you're going to keep going just like that until you're steady and stable at baseline. So what you don't want to do is stop the 4-count breathing, stop the repetitions as soon as you feel like you're back at baseline. Because when you stop, your body might jump right back into that fight, flight, or freeze domino effect of panic. So you want to keep with it for several repetitions until you feel like you're steady at baseline. And there's no set number of repetitions. You just have to kind of gauge yourself. And when do you feel like you're steady at baseline? Then you can stop and go on about your day. You'll feel much more like yourself, you'll feel better, and you'll be able to function much more effectively. So obviously I encourage you to use this 4-count breathing coping tool when you need it, when you're having that domino effect. And you can use it when it's all the dominoes have fallen and you are in it, you are panicking. It can be helpful then. It can also be helpful when you first start noticing that those first dominoes are starting to fall, like, oh, I'm noticing that I'm having a lot of anticipatory anxious thoughts like today is going to be terrible, I can't handle this, I'm not ready, this is too much. When your chest starts to get tight, when you notice those knots in your stomach, whatever your red flags are, as soon as you notice them, you can start implementing 4-count breathing to interrupt that process and shorten the duration and reduce the intensity of the panic episode. And you can even kind of try and head off those panicky episodes by trying to look at what are situations where you're likely to have those warning signs for those first dominoes to start falling and to kick off that fight, flight, or freeze panicky episode. If you know, oh my gosh, it's when I'm pulling into the school parking lot or on my way, or it's when I'm trying to fall asleep thinking about the next day or reviewing kind of how the day went. Look for those patterns and utilize the coping skill, the 4-count breathing, ahead of time. I also encourage you to practice the 4-count breathing when you're totally at baseline, when you are calm, when you are neutral, when you're pretty at ease, because you want to make sure, you want to give your brain and body the opportunity to learn the steps and become kind of automatic with them, where without much thought or effort, you can move between the normal breath in, long, slow, gentle exhale, cognitive cue, pause, 2, 3, 4, rinse and repeat. You want to be able to do that pretty much on autopilot when you're calm, so that when the dominoes are starting to fall, or when they've done fallen and you're in full-blown panic, you have those skills, you have the steps sort of in your brain's muscle memory so that you can access them. Because as you might have experienced, it's really hard to think clearly once those dominoes start falling. And using the coping tool when you're already neutral can be really helpful just for kind of centering yourself, for kind of centering yourself before starting an activity, but before shifting, when you're finishing one activity and needing to shift gears into another activity, for kind of decompressing after an activity, or winding down and trying to calm your mind and body so that you can get a good night's rest. So there are all these benefits that 4-count breathing can provide to you if you utilize them in these various ways. So I hope that you do that. I hope you give it a try, and that you become regular with it, and that it's helpful for you. And I wish you the best and hope that you take care. Bye.